Daredevil Born Again Season 2 just ended and it was a bit of a mixed bag, wasn't it? On the one hand, it has some solid moments, visual, stunt work, and it's definitely an upgrade over the last season. Although, that's not really saying much. Season 1 is fine, but it never fully came together. Season 2 had the opportunity to turn things around and prove that the issues that they had with the first season came from bad decisions made early on by the previous team. And did they do it? Well, you could say that. But there's still so much of it that's just missing. For all the good it did, it also revealed a whole new set of problems, including the biggest one. The show keeps rushing past some of its best material. What do I mean by this? Well, let's talk about it. Why does Daredevil Born Again keep getting in its own way, and how can we fix it? First off, let's get one thing out of the way. No, this season is nowhere close to the original show in terms of quality. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. Comparing the two is just setting this show up for failure, which is why I won't be doing those comparisons. Because as a fan of the character and of this show, I want it to be good. I want to give it a fair chance, and that's just impossible to do when you're comparing it to the original. I want to talk about Daredevil Born Again and what it achieves, or fails to, on its own. And I would say it's actually pretty good for what it is. It has its shortcomings, sure, but ultimately it isn't a crime against the character of Daredevil like some people would claim. It's different. It's supposed to be different. There's an entirely new creative team behind it after all. You see, the way that I look at this show is very similar to how I would look at a new comic book run. If you've ever followed a comic book character over multiple years, you probably know this feeling. There's this run that you really like, you're really invested in the story and its characters, it has a creative team that you've grown somewhat attached to, but then one day that creative team leaves to pursue different things. It's unreasonable to expect they'll be writing the same book forever after all, so they wrap up their story and a few months later, a new one starts, picking up from where the previous one left off, only with a new writer and artist combo. And sometimes it can feel off, like it's no longer the story and the characters you fell in love with. The writing and the art style are different, maybe it's missing a couple of the characters that you really loved from before, and you might not like it right away. For me, that happened when Mark Waid and Chris Samnee left Daredevil and got replaced with Charles Soule and Ron Garney. I hated it. It erased all of the character development Matt had in the previous run, and it undid a lot of what had been done not only by Waid and Samnee, but by Brubaker and Lark and Bendis and Malieve as well. At first, Born Again gave me that same feeling. Still, both times I decided to stick around and give it a chance. Maybe this run will still surprise me. The comic run did. Now, I would probably put it as one of my favorites. As for Daredevil Born Again, well, it's getting there. But I'm still waiting for the moment when it really changes my mind, you know? I thought Season 2 could finally make it happen, but it falls a little short. I definitely wouldn't call it a bad show. It's definitely one of the best ones Marvel has put out in the Disney Plus era, and it offers some very interesting ideas for all of these characters. After the original run, that mostly adapted Frank Miller era comics, which makes sense and was really well done, this show got to move on from that and adapt more recent stories. Mayor Fisk, Dark Art, Devil's Reign, and now Devil and Saw Block D, just to name a few. And for what it's worth, I think it's been doing a pretty good job. The writers managed to mix and match all those stories together in a way that feels familiar to those who know them from the comics, but also made it something entirely new that'll keep us guessing no matter how familiar we are with the source material. But then, that's where we hit our first problem. Because all of these strengths also highlight the huge problem with this show. Well, a couple of problems. This show, these stories, and these characters could be a lot better if they didn't have to actively fight against the people who should be making it as great as it can be. Its own writers, and of course, Disney. And it's very obvious in the way this show handles these storylines and their consequences. Disney doesn't seem eager to give this show as many episodes as it needs, limiting each season to only 8, or 9 when The Punisher doesn't steal one. All of which are under 1 hour, including credits. The writers seem to be happy to use that as an excuse to cut out important scenes. That is, if they even bothered to write them at all, because they love their time skips. Foggy died. Should we spend some time with Matt and Karen? Showcase how the death of their best friend affected them and their relationship? Should we show more of Matt's grief in those first few days? Nah, we're skipping a year ahead when all of that's already been done and dealt with. Mayor Fisk has declared martial law in New York and banned vigilantes. Should we show how the city reacted? What were those first few days like, with the task force running wild? Should we show how Matt and Karen's relationship develops now that she's back? Since they're getting back together, it'll be good to show them getting to that point, right? Yeah, don't worry, we'll just skip 6 months ahead when we're past all of that and don't need to address it. Matt Murdock admitted to being Daredevil and got sent to prison. How did the city react when they found out Daredevil is a blind lawyer? How does he adapt to prison considering he's put so many of those people away himself? Not to mention his heightened senses and disability in a place like this. What happened to all the cases he worked on before? What are we doing with all of this potential? Well, apparently, we'll be skipping a whole year in Season 3, so never mind, it'll all just work itself out off-screen again. Did you notice the pattern? Every single time this show stumbles into a genuinely interesting status quo change, it immediately skips ahead instead of spending some time dealing with the actual consequences. Back when they did it after Foggy's death, you could maybe argue this was due to limited resources and the whole creative overhaul drama, but they don't get that excuse anymore. What you see is what you get. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't love what I'm seeing. It feels... I'm trying to think of a word that isn't lazy, but I really just want to say lazy. Underwhelming, I guess? I don't know. But it definitely feels like a waste. Because like I said, there were things that I enjoyed about this season, but they didn't get fully fleshed out because it felt like they were always in a rush to get to something else. And it really, really hurt the show. And I'm not the only one who thinks so. This season feeling rushed and like it was favoring certain characters and plot lines has been a common criticism. A lot of people noticed the amount of scenes from teasers that never made it into the episode, or felt like certain plot points and characters were shoved aside. Take, for example, the city rallying behind Daredevil. Really cool. The army that he mentioned at the end of the last season wasn't an army of superheroes, but an army of New Yorkers coming together to take down Kingpin. That's a really cool concept and objectively a lot more powerful than just getting a bunch of cameos. But we don't see that army until episode 6. We don't see it being built. We don't see everyday New Yorkers showing support to the vigilantes. Or we're not shown their dissatisfaction through the city without fear, for example. Which should have been the point of that whole thing, serving as the opposite of the BB report that had just become fist propaganda. When we need that army, they're just there. Okay, we do get the graffiti on the walls in the first few episodes to show that they do exist, but that's all the world building we get, which feels odd when you realize it was the people who brought down Kingpin at the end of the season. They should have more of a presence throughout the story, not just the ending. And speaking of that graffiti, we know some of them feature the Daredevil symbol, which I'll give to them is a very cool idea. The DDs have been frustratingly absent from the Daredevil suit for 10 years now. That's a great way to incorporate them now if you really need a reason for them to be there, which you don't, of course, but I can appreciate the effort. But then when you watch the show, we don't see the moment when Matt finally adds them to his suit. They filmed it, it just never made it to the final cut for some reason. If he was just going to be there, why not add them back in season 1? Why build it up, film the moment for it, and then just cut it out? It's just not a satisfying conclusion to something that they made into a big character moment when it really didn't even need to be. Still on unsatisfying conclusions, Matt and Karen's romance this season. It's something that's been built up ever since the original season 1, and fans have been waiting 10 years to see how it would finally happen. But we just started off the season with them together. Which is fine, but why wouldn't you have the moment when the main couple gets back together happen on screen? I mean, sure, Daredevil isn't a romance show, but this is a very major character moment for both Matt and Karen. And his love for her is the catalyst for him revealing his secret identity at the end. You kinda need to spend some time developing them as a couple. We waited 10 years to see these two finally get back together, and the actual moment where it happens was not even written into the show. How do you expect people who don't like them as a couple to be invested in this relationship if you won't give them a moment to shine? Why not make the audience care and be invested in them right before you rip it all away in your finale? I'll tell you why, because it's easier. I mean, spending some time writing an emotional, heartfelt scene between our two leads? That sounds hard. What about instead we spend some time with Heather and Buck while they go off and commit some HR violations? That's what the people want to see, which, by the way, okay, this is all over the place, but the side characters. Back in season 1, they were pretty much cardboard cutouts. They were there just to fill in the space. This season, though, many of them got the spotlight for a bit, which is great. I didn't really care about Daniel before, I love Daniel now, great job. But here's something interesting. Only Fisk's side characters got that treatment. We got a lot of Daniel, a lot of Heather, a lot of Buck, but Karen, Kirsten, Angela, Daredevil's side characters, Daredevil's army, like we just talked about, not really much. Even Daredevil himself got sidelined. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but my boy over here did not even get a character arc this season. I don't know how much of it was cut out versus how much wasn't even written, but he made a huge decision in the finale, right? One that'll change the show for however long it runs for after this. His whole arc could have been about that, realizing that just operating as Daredevil isn't enough. But also, neither is operating only as Matt Murdock like he realized last season. Then, of course, his hand is forced by Karen's trial, and that's how we get the reveal. As much as I like the change going forward, it really did come out of nowhere. The only hint, if you can even call it that, was when the task force agents unmasked him back in episode 1. But then Bullseye killed them all, and that never really comes up again. I mean, a lot of us saw it coming from a mile away. There were some set photos leaked, then there was the Mike Coulter incident, but within the show itself, there was really nothing to inform us of Matt making that final decision. Because the season kept rushing towards the next plot point. Listen, developing side characters isn't a bad thing. Actually, I think it should be encouraged. But it shouldn't be a priority over the main characters. No, it shouldn't be a priority over your title character. Because ultimately, that's who the people are here to see. That's what's so frustrating about the show. It's not bad, at all. But a lot of the time, it feels like an unfinished version of a much better show. One that keeps the same elements but takes some time to develop them properly. Anyway, to sum it up, Daredevil Born Again has a lot of good things going for it. But they're undermined by time constraints and lazy writing decisions. It works fine, but it feels incomplete. So how do we fix it going forward? Well, number 1, the episode count needs to go up. There are a lot of characters to get to and not enough time to get to all of them. 2, they really need to get better at what to cut and what to keep, because scenes need to breathe. And we need a better look inside the mind of some of these characters. And 3, remember that Daredevil, the title character, as well as the people around him, need the spotlight shining on them once in a while. The show is not just about the villains. Speaking of, I'm adding a new one right now, number 4, give us more villains. I'm not saying we need to get rid of Kingpin forever, just give us some variety. So when Kingpin shows up again, it's more exciting, Before I go, there's a lot more that I have issues with that I just didn't have the time to get to, so here's a quick fire list of things. Mr. Charles, what was the point of him? Did they have a plan for Bullseye past killing Vanessa? Cause he just felt like an afterthought after that. Kirsten McDuffie, completely wasted. I'll never forgive them for that. Like, if you know her in the comics, you know how much you're being absolutely robbed right now. Jessica's powers flickering on and off. What was that about? We didn't really get any payoff to it. I guess they could be saving it for season 3, but then again, they might just cut that out. I will be revisiting some of these things in the future, so make sure you subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss it. And let me know what you think. What are your opinions on season 2? Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like the video, and if you want to learn about how bad Matt Murdock is at keeping his secret identity, you should watch this video right here. Join me next time as we discuss both times Daredevil went to prison in the comics and discuss which one they would take an inspiration from in season 3. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.